What if one of humanity's most essential inventions suddenly disappeared overnight? Imagine waking up in 2005 to a world where the internet no longer exists.
Emails vanish, social media platforms collapse, online banking fails, and streaming services vanish without warning. The digital backbone of society crumbles, leaving governments, corporations, and individuals scrambling for solutions.
Chaos, confusion, and desperation dominate the first days. But as humans adapt, society begins to rebuild, rediscovering older methods of communication, trade, and innovation. This story follows the ripple effects from personal struggles to global transformations, spanning from 2005 all the way to 2100. Lean back and explore a world forced offline, where humanity learns to survive, innovate, and thrive without the internet. The world woke up to a silent digital void. Emails undelivered, websites unreachable, and social media profiles vanished without warning. In offices, employees stared at frozen screens, unable to access critical information or communicate with colleagues abroad. Banks froze online transactions, leaving millions unable to pay bills or transfer money. Students and teachers suddenly lost access to research and online learning platforms. In homes, families realized their entertainment and communication networks had disappeared overnight. Panic spread quickly as people confronted a world without the internet, realizing that modern life, dependent on digital infrastructure, had come to an abrupt halt. Governments scrambled to assess the damage, but the scale was unprecedented. National emergency teams attempted to restore communication lines, but no one could explain the permanent failure. Telecoms and IT departments switched to backup systems, yet the missing internet backbone rendered many efforts futile. Stock markets halted, e-commerce collapsed, and global supply chains faltered. Citizens relied on newspapers, radio, and telephone networks that were suddenly overwhelmed. The sudden vacuum in information flow caused rumors and misinformation to spread rapidly, adding to societal tension. Humanity faced a stark reality. Daily life, economy, and governance depended far more on the internet than anyone had realized. Individuals reacted differently to the sudden collapse. Some panicked, hoarding cash and physical goods in fear of shortages. Others tried to reconnect with family and friends through landlines or physical letters. Businesses scrambled to recover data from local servers, while students and academics returned to libraries and offline resources. In small towns and rural areas, life slowed down naturally. As people reverted to local networks of information and trade, volunteers and tech enthusiasts began organizing community information hubs, improvising offline bulletin boards and message centers. The world, once hyper-connected, was now forced into slower, more tangible forms of communication and organization. The media, stripped of digital channels, faced unprecedented challenges. TV and radio stations became the primary sources of real-time news, while newspapers saw a resurgence in importance. Journalists struggled to report accurate stories, unable to verify facts online, relying on local correspondence and direct communication. Advertising and marketing collapsed in digital spaces, forcing companies to invest in print and outdoor campaigns. Early attempts at private small-scale networks emerged, connecting neighbors and local businesses. In the midst of confusion, humanity began rediscovering the value of direct communication. Community bonds and physical records,
learning to survive in a world suddenly stripped of instant connectivity.
Meanwhile, the economic consequences grew more apparent. E-commerce companies faced bankruptcy, global shipping slowed, and finance systems reverted to outdated manual processes. Governments struggled to maintain trust as citizens demanded explanations for the collapse. Businesses began innovating offline solutions, from local trading systems to alternative payment methods. Universities and schools adapted by returning to traditional teaching methods, emphasizing physical textbooks and in-person collaboration. While frustration and fear dominated initially, the seeds of resilience began to grow.
Communities, forced offline, started improvising solutions, slowly learning that life could continue and even thrive without the internet.
Amid the chaos, certain innovators saw opportunity. Engineers and technicians began designing localized networks, connecting offices, schools, and communities without relying on the global internet.
Small-scale data storage systems emerged in homes and businesses, ensuring critical information remained accessible. People began printing documents that were previously only digital, rediscovering the value of physical records.
Libraries and archives became hubs of knowledge, bustling with students and researchers. Humanity's creativity and adaptability were tested as society learned to improvise and innovate without the convenience of instantaneous online access. Communication methods evolved quickly. Community radio stations became lifelines, sharing news and coordinating resources.
Postal services adapted with urgency, implementing rapid mail routes and local dispatch centers. Telephones, once secondary in importance, became primary lifelines for both personal and professional communication. Even businesses started maintaining manual logs for orders and transactions. Citizens slowly accepted that the hyper-connected lifestyle of the early 2000s was gone.
Trust in face-to-face interactions, local knowledge, and community cooperation became critical. Humanity began reshaping its habits and routines to navigate this new offline reality. Education and research faced profound challenges. Universities, cut off from online journals and collaborative tools, returned to printed materials and in-person lectures. Teachers adapted curricula to prioritize local resources, hands-on learning and personal mentorship. Science and technology research slowed initially, but eventually found alternative paths.
Labs began sharing physical copies of research, traveling long distances to collaborate. Students developed resilience and problem-solving skills, learning to operate without immediate digital assistance.
Over time, the limitations imposed by the internet collapse fostered ingenuity, self-reliance, and community-centered innovation. Social life transformed as well. People spent more time in face-to-face interactions, rekindling bonds within families, neighborhoods, and local organizations. Communities organized events, shared resources, and rebuilt trust networks that had weakened in the online era. While some mourned the loss of online entertainment and social media, many discovered the benefits of offline hobbies, local arts, and physical activities. The sudden absence of the internet forced society to confront its dependency on virtual validation and digital convenience, reshaping human connection in profound and unexpected ways. By the end of 2006, society had adapted to a world without the internet, though scars from the collapse remained. Economies stabilized with new offline infrastructures, communities strengthened local cooperation, and education evolved to rely on tangible resources. Humanity had learned a critical lesson. Dependence on a single global system carries risks, but adaptability, creativity, and resilience allow survival. This marked the beginning of a long journey toward a reimagined world where people rediscovered balance between technological convenience and real-world connection, setting the stage for decades of offline innovation and transformation.
By 2006, the initial panic had begun to subside, replaced by a determined effort to survive offline. Communities organized themselves into localized networks, sharing resources, news, and skills without relying on any global system. Small businesses revived bartering systems, while local governments implemented physical record-keeping and decentralized communication hubs. Schools returned to traditional teaching methods, and libraries became critical centers for research and learning. Citizens began to develop patience and resilience, rediscovering face-to-face interactions and the value of personal relationships in a world suddenly disconnected from digital convenience. Local economies began adapting to the new reality. E-commerce companies went bankrupt, but markets flourished with physical trading. Farmers and artisans gained prominence, supplying goods directly to communities. Banks and financial institutions relied on paper transactions, cash, and localized accounting systems. Citizens carried cash and receipts more diligently, while credit cards became less practical. Communities established mutual aid systems to distribute resources. Slowly, humanity developed new offline systems for commerce, governance, and communication, showing that survival and adaptation depended not on technology alone, but on cooperation, ingenuity, and determination. Education evolved rapidly in response to the internet void. Teachers and professors returned to face-to-face instruction, emphasizing printed textbooks, physical demonstrations, and interactive learning. Students learned research skills using libraries and archives, traveling to gather information previously available online. Communities created shared study centers and knowledge hubs where resources and expertise could be pooled. Apprenticeships and hands-on learning became essential, ensuring that skills and knowledge continued to grow despite the absence of digital connectivity. Education became slower but deeper, fostering critical thinking, resourcefulness, and a renewed respect for traditional learning. Communication shifted dramatically. Community radio and local newspapers became lifelines, delivering news, coordinating aid, and informing citizens. People relied on letters, courier services, and neighborhood networks to exchange messages. Town halls and public gatherings increased in importance, replacing instant messaging and social media as forums for discussion and decision-making. Volunteers organized information centers where messages could be posted, copied, and distributed. The world adapted to slower, tangible communication methods, rediscovering the value of patience, human presence, and collaborative problem-solving in an offline environment. Cultural life underwent transformation as well. With no streaming services or online entertainment, communities embraced theater, local music, storytelling, and physical sports. Families spent more time together, and social bonds strengthened. People adapted hobbies that required creativity and hands-on engagement, while public spaces became hubs for art, discussion, and leisure. The absence of constant online distraction reshaped daily routines, making life slower but richer in personal connection. By 2010, society had begun to stabilize in this offline reality,
learning that adaptation, community, and ingenuity could sustain human progress, even in the absence of the internet. By 2010, offline innovation had become a defining force. Without digital design tools or cloud infrastructure, engineers and inventors returned to analog methods, drafting tables, mechanical calculations, and experimental prototypes. Workshops became the new labs of progress, producing mechanical solutions for problems once solved through software. Cities invested in pneumatic tube networks, analog data storage, and advanced radio engineering. Instead of digital automation, humanity focused on improving physical mechanisms and efficiency. Innovation slowed in some areas but accelerated in others, proving that creativity did not depend on the internet. It depended on human persistence.
Healthcare faced enormous challenges, but adapted quickly. Without instant access to global databases, doctors relied on printed research, medical libraries, and networks of traveling specialists.
Medical universities built massive offline archives, constantly updated through physical shipments. Pharmaceutical companies shifted toward regional production to avoid distribution delays.
Hospitals created standardized paper-based patient systems supported by local data hubs. The absence of online diagnostics slowed progress, yet it strengthened medical training, hands-on expertise, and the importance of human judgment over automated algorithms.
Medicine became more personal, more direct, and more grounded. Global trade experienced a deep reset. Ports lost their digital coordination systems, forcing logistics companies to reinvent operations using analog tracking methods. Shipping became slower but more reliable as standardized paperwork replaced digital databases. Companies invested in huge physical archives, and international trade agreements adapted to new verification systems. Nations strengthened rail transport and postal services, recognizing how essential physical infrastructure had become. Although inefficiencies were unavoidable, the world rediscovered resilience through traditional navigation, radio communication, and human-led coordination, proving that global exchange could survive even without digital foundations. Global trade experienced a deep reset. Ports lost their digital coordination systems, forcing logistics companies to reinvent operations using analog tracking methods. Shipping became slower but more reliable as standardized paperwork replaced digital databases. Companies invested in huge physical archives, and international trade agreements adapted to new verification systems. Nations strengthened rail transport and postal services, recognizing how essential physical infrastructure had become. Although inefficiencies were unavoidable, the world rediscovered resilience through traditional navigation, radio communication, and human-led coordination, proving that global exchange could survive even without digital foundations. Government systems transformed at every level. Without online administration, nations expanded in-person offices, physical archives, and regional administrative centers. Voting reverted to paper ballots. Census data was collected manually, and law enforcement relied heavily on community cooperation. While corruption risks increased, transparency movements grew in response. Citizens demanded open discussions, public forums, and accountable decision-making. Political leaders were forced to interact directly with their populations far more frequently. Governance became slower but more human-centered, shaped by dialogue, physical presence, and collective responsibility rather than algorithms and analytics. By the end of the decade, the offline world had formed its own identity stable, adaptive and uniquely resilient. Humanity no longer waited for the internet to return. Instead, it built structures, communities, and systems meant to last without it. What began as a catastrophic collapse became a global transformation, revealing strengths society had forgotten it possessed. The loss of convenience sparked a revival of craftsmanship, collaboration, and real-world connection. Although the 2005 blackout had changed everything, it did not destroy humanity's progress. It redirected it toward a different kind of future. By 2015, the offline world had matured into a complex but stable ecosystem. Most people born after the collapse had never used the internet and grew up in communities where knowledge traveled through books, radio, and word of mouth. Schools emphasized practical skills mechanics, navigation, craftsmanship, physical sciences because digital dependence was gone. Students learned how to repair radios, operate analog instruments, and maintain local archives. Cities invested heavily in bulletin boards, public message centers, and offline communication networks. What older generations considered a limitation, the youth embraced as the normal rhythm of life. Instead of scrolling through feeds, people filled town squares, libraries, and workshops, creating a society driven by real presence and shared responsibility. Culture underwent a dramatic transformation. Without social media, trends spread slowly and organically, shaped by local talent instead of global algorithms. Music scenes developed unique regional identities, and artists performed live far more often since digital distribution was impossible. Physical media, vinyl, tapes, print photography, experienced a renaissance. Movie studios revived traditional marketing campaigns through posters, radio ads, and traveling promo tours. Celebrities became less distant, interacting with fans face-to-face instead of through curated online personas. Creative projects took longer to produce but felt more authentic, more connected to particular places and communities. In many ways, the collapse unintentionally restored a depth and sincerity to art that had been fading for years. The scientific world felt the impact differently. Collaboration slowed at first, but universities adapted by forming global courier routes dedicated solely to exchanging research materials. Scientists waited weeks for journals to arrive, yet this created a new culture. Precision experiments were documented in extreme detail, and findings were carefully reviewed before being shared. Offline conferences became major events, drawing researchers across continents for knowledge exchange. Laboratories built massive physical archives, and analog instruments replaced digital measurement systems. Despite limitations, breakthrough still happened slower but deeper. Fields like physics, biology, and chemistry began producing fewer but more robust discoveries, proving that scientific curiosity could survive even the loss of instant global connectivity. Daily life required discipline and planning. Without online banking, people relied on physical currency, paper records, and in-person financial services. Malls replaced e-commerce, becoming social hubs filled with repair shops, bookstores, and specialty sellers. Travel also changed. Printed maps and radio guidance became essential tools for navigating unfamiliar territory. Families kept emergency supply kits, batteries, and radios at home, recognizing the value of self-reliance. Many communities developed resilience groups teaching skills like gardening, first aid, and mechanical maintenance. Although the world had fewer conveniences, It gained a sense of cooperation and preparedness that many considered more fulfilling than the disconnected digital lifestyle of the early 2000s. Yet beneath the stability, new divides emerged. Wealthier nations adapted more smoothly, while developing regions struggled without digital support systems.
Offline education quality varied drastically between countries, and access to printed knowledge became a global inequality factor. Some governments monopolized radio frequencies or restricted information flow to maintain control, triggering movements demanding transparent, decentralized communication.
As a result, underground radio networks expanded, spreading uncensored news and fostering international solidarity. The world had avoided collapse, but tensions simmered beneath the surface, shaped by uneven adaptation and differing visions of what the future without the internet should become.
By 2017, alternative technologies had begun to flourish. Without cloud computing or digital infrastructure, inventors and engineers focused on mechanical, analog, and hybrid solutions. Localized offline networks connected communities via radios, pneumatic tubes, and physical archives. Workshops turned into innovation hubs, where prototypes were built, tested, and shared manually. Cities invested in decentralized energy grids and independent communication lines. While slower than digital solutions, these systems were robust, resilient, and free from hacking or cyber attacks. Humanity proved that ingenuity thrives under constraint, and that progress does not require the internet. It requires vision, persistence, and collaboration. Healthcare continued adapting to offline limitations. Doctors relied on printed medical journals, handwritten patient files, and couriered research materials. Hospitals implemented strict local protocols to maintain efficiency. Pharmaceuticals were produced regionally, reducing dependency on global supply chains. Traveling specialists became essential, sharing expertise in person rather than online. Medical students trained rigorously in diagnostic observation and hands-on skills. Telemedicine was impossible, but communities developed emergency response networks, teaching first aid and basic care to non-professionals. By necessity, healthcare became more personal, preventive, and community-oriented, emphasizing human judgment over digital automation. Global commerce adapted in creative ways. International trade relied on physical ledgers, handwritten contracts, and standardized shipping manifests. Ports, railroads, and trucking hubs became central coordination points. Companies created regional stockpiles and multiple redundancies to ensure supply. Traders relied on trusted relationships and manual verification rather than real-time digital tracking. Economies became more localized, stimulating small businesses and craft industries. Although logistics were slower and prone to human error, the system proved resilient. Offline supply chains fostered cooperation, negotiation skills, and resourcefulness, demonstrating that global trade could survive even without instantaneous online oversight. Education and research matured into hybrid offline systems. Libraries evolved into massive knowledge hubs, storing textbooks, journals, and research papers. Apprenticeships and hands-on learning programs proliferated. Universities coordinated international conferences, exchanging materials via specialized courier networks. Students mastered navigation, communication, and technical skills that had been lost in the digital age. Collaboration became intentional rather than instantaneous, fostering depth and patience. Knowledge spread more slowly, but understanding deepened. Societies learned to value persistence and meticulous documentation, recognizing that offline systems encouraged accuracy, reliability, and personal accountability in ways the internet had never required. By 2020, society had transformed into a stable offline ecosystem. People had learned to adapt, communicate, trade, educate, and innovate without the internet. Communities were resilient, economies functioned, and technology advanced along new, tangible paths. The collapse, initially catastrophic, had revealed humanity's capacity for adaptation, resourcefulness, and collaboration. Cultural, scientific, and social life thrived in different ways, prioritizing depth, local connection, and personal engagement over convenience and speed. The offline world, once a limitation, had become a foundation for a resilient and self-reliant humanity, prepared for challenges and innovations yet to come. By 2020, communities had established stable, offline infrastructures, and by the mid-2020s, humanity began transforming socially and culturally. Education, economy, and governance operated independently of the internet, fostering resilience and innovation. People relied on local expertise and physical communication channels. Cities developed analog networks to manage utilities, transportation, and emergency response. Social life shifted toward in-person gatherings, cultural events, and local art movements. Hobbies requiring craftsmanship, collaboration, and creativity flourished. Humanity adapted to a slower, more deliberate pace, realizing that patience and persistence became essential skills, and that real-world interaction could achieve depth and innovation beyond digital convenience. Healthcare continued evolving with offline innovation. Regional hospitals maintained detailed paper archives and decentralized medical supply chains. Doctors developed expertise in hands-on diagnostics and observation, emphasizing preventive care and community health education. Traveling specialists and physical knowledge networks ensured information exchange between regions. Medical breakthroughs occurred more slowly but were thoroughly validated. Communities took responsibility for public health, establishing emergency preparedness systems and local clinics. Medicine, once dependent on instant global databases, became grounded in human experience, careful observation, and local collaboration, resulting in a more robust and resilient system for patient care. Education and research transformed into disciplined, community-based systems. Libraries became global knowledge hubs, while courier networks ensured international collaboration. Students trained in hands-on skills, critical thinking, and problem-solving, preparing for challenges without digital shortcuts. Universities emphasized detailed documentation, collaboration through physical meetings, and mentorship. Scientific experiments were slower but more precise, fostering accuracy and resilience. Citizens valued deep knowledge over instant information. Offline innovation hubs, workshops, and research centers drove technological advancement, proving that ingenuity and progress can thrive without instant connectivity, as long as society values dedication, collaboration, and resourcefulness. Cultural life reached new heights in offline society. Communities developed local theaters, music venues, art exhibitions, and storytelling traditions. Festivals, fairs, and public gatherings replaced digital entertainment. Personal connections strengthened as people shared experiences physically rather than virtually. Local traditions thrived, and regional creativity became a global asset through exchange via courier networks and traveling artisans. While some mourned the convenience of the internet,
humanity discovered richer, more meaningful interactions and cultural experiences. Society had learned that even in the absence of digital connectivity, human innovation, collaboration, and creativity could flourish and sustain progress. By 2030, offline technologies had matured into sophisticated systems. Cities ran on analog communication grids, mechanical automation, and advanced local energy networks. Communities maintained physical data archives, and workshops evolved into centers of innovation and production. Engineers invented mechanical and hybrid devices to replace lost digital conveniences. Transportation relied on manual scheduling and local coordination, yet remained highly efficient. Education and healthcare thrived under this model, as people prioritized skill, observation, and personal responsibility over instant online access. The society proved adaptable, resilient, and self-sufficient, demonstrating that human progress does not require the internet, but disciplined creativity, collaboration, and innovation. Global trade continued to operate through regional networks. Shipping relied on physical ledgers, courier services, and trusted business relationships. Local economies became self-sustaining, while intercontinental trade persisted through manual verification and precise planning. Industrial production shifted toward durable, long-lasting goods designed for offline maintenance. Markets became hubs for innovation, creativity, and social cohesion. Communities developed robust barter systems and local currencies to complement traditional money. Citizens grew accustomed to slower, more deliberate transactions, valuing human interaction, trust, and problem-solving. This offline trade system, though slower, proved more resilient to failures and disruptions than the old digital-dependent model. By 2040, offline culture had reached a unique sophistication. Art, music, literature, and theater flourished in local communities, each region developing distinct styles and traditions. Performances, exhibitions, and cultural exchanges traveled through courier networks and in-person collaborations. Education emphasized creativity, craftsmanship, and critical thinking. Scientific research produced fewer but more robust breakthroughs, validated through meticulous experiments and peer review conducted physically. Community celebrated achievements with public events, fostering pride, accountability, and deep engagement. Human ingenuity and creativity thrived in tangible forms, proving that the absence of digital systems encouraged a richer, more meaningful societal experience. Governments and social institutions adapted by decentralizing authority. Regional administrations handled governance, education, and public welfare. Voting, law enforcement, and record-keeping were conducted manually. With transparent, community-based oversight, civic participation increased as citizens engaged directly with decision-makers. Leaders relied on face-to-face negotiation, public debate, and tangible documentation. Inefficiencies existed, but the system fostered accountability, trust, and active citizen involvement. Society evolved to value slow, deliberate processes over instant gratification. Offline governance proved resilient and adaptive, showing that human oversight, cooperation, and local empowerment could sustain order, progress, and innovation without digital dependency. By 2050, the offline world had fully transformed into a self-reliant, resilient civilization. Communities thrived on collaboration, creativity, and human connection. Technology, art, and science advanced through tangible, deliberate processes. Education, healthcare, and commerce operated smoothly without the internet.
humanity had learned to value patience, skill, and responsibility. The collapse of 2005, once seen as catastrophic, had become a catalyst for profound societal evolution. Offline life, once a limitation, had become a strength, demonstrating that human innovation, perseverance, and community could overcome immense challenges and sustain progress across decades. By 2050, the offline world had fully transformed into a self-reliant, resilient civilization. Communities thrived on collaboration, creativity, and human connection. Technology, art, and science advanced through tangible, deliberate processes. Education, healthcare, and commerce operated smoothly without the internet. Humanity had learned to value patience, skill, and responsibility. The collapse of 2005, once seen as catastrophic, had become a catalyst for profound societal evolution. Offline life, once a limitation, had become a strength, demonstrating that human innovation, perseverance, and community could overcome immense challenges and sustain progress across decades. By 2050, the offline world had fully transformed into a self-reliant, resilient civilization. Communities thrived on collaboration, creativity, and human connection. Technology, art, and science advanced through tangible, deliberate processes. Education, healthcare, and commerce operated smoothly without the internet. Humanity had learned to value patience, skill, and responsibility. The collapse of 2005, once seen as catastrophic, had become a catalyst for profound societal evolution. Offline life, once a limitation, had become a strength, demonstrating that human innovation, perseverance, and community could overcome immense challenges and sustain progress across decades. By 2055, humanity had mastered a fully self-reliant offline civilization. Cities ran on renewable energy, mechanical transport, and analog communication networks. Communities shared knowledge through physical archives, traveling educators and workshops. Innovation hubs became centers for creativity and invention, producing mechanical, hybrid, and experimental technologies. Education emphasized hands-on learning, critical thinking, and community service. Healthcare systems relied on observation, practical expertise, and preventive strategies. People had internalized the lessons of the internet collapse, valuing patience, discipline, and resilience. Society thrived on human connection and tangible achievement rather than digital convenience. Trade and industry had adapted to an offline global network. Shipping, logistics, and production were coordinated via manual ledgers, courier systems, and regional oversight. Industries focused on sustainability, durability, and local resource use. Communities exchanged goods through barter, local currencies, and trusted intermediaries. International trade persisted, slower but more secure, relying on human negotiation and physical verification. Markets became hubs of innovation, creativity, and cultural exchange. Citizens learned to manage resources, anticipate demand, and maintain balance. Offline economies proved robust, resistant to systemic shocks, and shaped by collaboration, accountability, and ingenuity rather than algorithms or digital oversight. Cultural life flourished with a richness previously unseen. Art, theater, music, and literature thrived locally and traveled through courier networks. Regional styles became globally appreciated, blending traditions without digital influence. Education emphasized creative problem-solving, apprenticeships, and mentorship.
Scientific research, slower but meticulously validated, produced breakthroughs grounded in physical experimentation. Communities celebrated achievements with public events, fostering pride, collaboration, and intergenerational knowledge transfer. Offline life encouraged deeper human connection, resilience, and appreciation for craftsmanship. The society had evolved to function without the internet, proving that progress and culture can thrive in tangible, deliberate ways. By 2070, governance had fully decentralized. Regional administrations handled law, infrastructure, and education with transparency and direct citizen involvement. Voting and civic processes were paper-based but accountable, relying on open debates and public oversight. Corruption became harder to hide as communities had direct influence over decision-making. Social cohesion strengthened through public forums, assemblies, and local initiatives. Leaders were chosen for skill, wisdom, and integrity rather than digital influence or popularity. Governance became slower but more considered, emphasizing human judgment, dialogue, and fairness. Offline society had created robust, accountable political systems grounded in human interaction. Healthcare in 2080 was sophisticated despite remaining offline. Regional hospitals shared knowledge via physical archives and traveling specialists. Diagnostics and treatments emphasized observation, hands-on expertise, and preventive care. Pharmacies operated locally, producing medicines from sustainable resources. Communities trained citizens in emergency care and basic healthcare skills, making health systems resilient to crises. Medical innovation was deliberate and carefully validated, avoiding the errors sometimes caused by over-reliance on digital systems. Humanity had created a system where knowledge, skill, and collaboration ensured both safety and progress without the internet, proving the strength of offline resilience. By 2090, society had merged the best aspects of human creativity, science, and community. Education, industry, and governance all operated offline, producing a stable civilization. Cultural exchanges thrived through physical events, traveling scholars, and international workshops. Technology focused on mechanical and hybrid innovation, sustainability, and longevity. Citizens had internalized self-reliance, discipline, and patience. Life was slower but richer, fostering deeper connections and meaningful achievements. Communities had learned to balance progress, culture, and human well-being, proving that a society without the internet could not only survive, but flourish over decades. Social life thrived in person. Communities organized festivals, concerts, exhibitions, and local competitions. Families, neighbors, and friends spent time together without distraction from digital devices. Hobbies, arts, and physical activities were prioritized, while public spaces became hubs for collaboration and creativity. Offline communication built trust and strengthened bonds, fostering civic responsibility and cultural richness. Society valued tangible experiences over fleeting digital interactions. Human relationships deepened and collective problem-solving became routine. By 2100, offline society had proven that meaningful connection, culture, and innovation could exist entirely without the internet, grounded in real human engagement. The collapse of 2005, once catastrophic, had ultimately reshaped humanity's trajectory. People learned resilience, adaptability, and the value of patience. Offline systems of education, healthcare, governance, and commerce created a stable, self-reliant civilization.
Technology evolved differently, focusing on durability, sustainability, and physical innovation.
Culture flourished without algorithmic interference, emphasizing human creativity and collaboration. Global challenges were addressed through localized solutions and direct cooperation. Humanity had endured, adapted, and thrived. By 2100, the lessons of the internet collapse had become foundational, shaping a world where human ingenuity and community mattered above convenience and digital speed. Looking back from 2100, humanity had turned a crisis into a strength. The internet collapse forced innovation, resilience, and human connection. Offline society had produced sustainable technology, deep culture, and robust governance. The story of adaptation shows that human creativity, discipline, and collaboration can overcome even catastrophic disruptions. Viewer question: if you had lived through the permanent collapse of the internet, how would you have adapted your life to survive and thrive in a fully offline world? Reflect on the balance between digital convenience and real-world resilience, and imagine what lessons today could shape the future.